It's a very interesting piece for me in terms of making me think, because whenever I play a piece, whenever I play a work that is that connects me to different parts of the musical world, that is valuable for me. So so whenever I play something, I have to take something out and put something in. These are the things I like. Makes me think. Especially this prelude makes me think about time, how we comprehend the time, and what is the meaning of really cumulative sound and dynamics, the accumulation of it, the time dynamic. That really made me think. First time I heard these three preludes that he sent me, um, I felt like these preludes are all talking to me. It's saying something. Especially the second prelude is murmuring something. I I felt obliged to go to to Pierre and say, "What are you saying? Tell me." It is as if he's murmuring something and he wants to say and he cannot. It was very interesting for me because, like I said, it gives you something. On the third prelude, when I heard, it's for me, I was very mesmerized by talking to me in person and saying certain things, but um, never beautiful and never calm, uneasy. So very easy, very uneasy. It was like a paranoid thinking, and I love that because in the I'm sorry I'm talking too long maybe, but in music I always feel that today's music, it shouldn't have to be only the beauty, and we were talking about this with Pierre. The beauty lies right now in different places rather than how emotionally it makes us feel. But right now it's a different beauty. When there's a communication, there's a beauty, and there was a huge communication for me. That's why I said, okay, let's do it. This is wonderful.
Yes, but it's interesting. You talked about time. I know that there are a lot of modification of tempo in this piece. How do you perceive the accelerations of tempo, especially, and what feelings does it provide to you as a pianist?
This was my question to Pierre, actually. This is what I asked him. I said, how are we going to do the accelerando and, retardando? Because it's, uh, it's very precise, but in the end, it's very vague too, because it says approximate metronome. But then again, the slowing down and speeding up is not stated. So I said, how are we going to do this? Because I always thought that it's just a linear. And I said, no, it's not linear. It's 80% and 10%. I said, okay, how are we going to do this? So it's a cumulative speeding up. Also the dynamics. So to be honest, I asked the Muse score to I asked the computer program to understand how it works. So I make the computer to play it for me so that I can understand how it's done. So I utilized the technology so that I could feel how it is. My goal was actually to be able to represent the composer himself and take myself out as much as possible. So rather than saying that, oh, this is how I feel, I prefer to say this is how it is. This is how it should be. So my personal thoughts and my personal preferences in time, in dynamics, everything should come after I exit the room. I'm thinking I should make the composer and the listener meet and when they can meet, when they can see each other, and then maybe they can see me. But the first thing was the composition itself. So it was a very different process for me to prepare. But it was an interesting thing. So I'm glad we did this. This was fun.
That's great. And Pierre, on your side, what was your purpose in composing this piece? What distinguished the most this prelude from the previous ones?
So, as I told last time, this prelude is a prospection. I'm seeking for something to develop a language of music, and each of the prelude is a new step in this research. So this very step of this third prelude was how to make acceleration on a let's say not too wide range, but still not minimal. Let's say between each note there is a progression of tempo of 1, 2, or 3 BPM. So if you have a line of 10 notes, the progression will be between let's say 20 to 30 BPM. So it's not a very, very big increase of speed. However, it's still much more than the second one, which has a very, very small acceleration. So this was really how to do this. How first I'm going to be able to implement the algorithm in the computer. How can I find a musical logic? Because the logic is not mathematics. The logic is really musical. However, the computer has to make the calculation in a very logic way. So I need to communicate with the computer and let him know how to communicate with me back. So this was how to do it. And then, of course, it was how to find an idea and the poetic. And the idea and the poetic come directly from Toros' interpretation of George Crumb's first prelude, first Makrokosmos. And it's very unique, I mean, in this series of recording we are making now, because actually I use really the interpretation of Toros that influenced me into composing, and then now we are working, so I am influencing him back on something that he initiated without knowing it, because it was a recording of 20 years ago. So actually this was this kind of connection, of communication. This is the very material of the piece. How to put the interpretation of someone as a material instead of just putting the note, the rhythm, or the melody. So this was actually the target of this third prelude.
Yeah. Okay, and so according to you, Toros or Pierre, you choose. What do these two pieces have in common? And maybe Toros, you could play for us the little quotation that appears in the beginning. The very little,
The George Crumb.
Well, sure, but in George Crumb's Makrokosmos #1, there's a chain, and right after the glissando, the chain hits the strings, so that it's there's a buzzing sound. So whatever I do right now won't be able to reflect the real thing, because we don't have the chain right now, because really metal chain on the strings, glissando, and the chain drops on the string, and then it's got a buzz sound. But in the music there's a glissando on the strings, and it's exactly how Pierre's work starts, actually. So there's a connection there. It is as if Pierre takes off where Crumb starts, It's very interesting connection there. So that's why he said that he took my glissando from the CD. So I was very honored to be a part of this project. This was so, how can I say, it's an honor. Yeah.
For us also.
Thank you.
Maybe I can develop a little bit on this, because I think it's a pretty key information of everything. When Toros records this glissando in 20 years ago in his disc of crumb, you know, we don't really know what crumb is looking for. However, Toros Can make a very clear interpretation on this. He gives some dynamics to this glissando. So it means actually the glissando is a little bit shorter than it should be. It's a very, very tiny thing. It's not like... and I use this idea of dynamic and I shape the glissando in acceleration. This acceleration is not as the idea of crumb. Crumb has something, maybe you can push a pedal. Crumb wants to have something very, very neutral, like. You see, I didn't go faster. I just hit the strings in a linear speed, you know, and then I change it to something a little bit more. At the beginning, I'm very slow, and we can hear the staccato on the string, and then I'm going faster and faster and faster and faster. So you see, it's taking the crumb material and shaping in another way to allow it to be developed in a new language. So this was how the idea came, and how the connection between works between composition, music, and interpretation. It's like a triptych, you know, and it's like a conversation with 3 points together.